Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, Prashant, go ahead.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Let me share my screen. Is everyone able to see this?
Yeah, that's now viewable to me, Prashant. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ryan, and good day, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and keeping healthy. I'm Prashant from the NonStop product management team, and I welcome you to my session today on the latest news on HPE NonStop software. This is going to be presented to you in two parts. I will be doing the first part, where I will take you through the latest news on the lower layers of the operating system, the security and manageability. And my colleague Sridhar Neelakantan will be presenting to the software stack updates on the layers above, namely the middleware, the database, and the languages and tools. And that's going to be on the 9th. Here is what I have in the agenda. I will begin with summarizing the pillars of the NonStop software strategy. I will then touch upon a high-level view of all the new product introductions that we have made earlier this year. As some of you may have heard, we have a program called NonStop Showcase, through which we have brought in a lot of new products or products from our partners into our portfolio. We had quite a number of those launched this year. We will have more of them further down. So I will summarize what the products that we have launched in the security and the manageability portfolio. And then I will touch upon the latest product updates. I'll be spending quite a bit of time on the futures so that you get a view of what's coming down the road. And the overall session is planned for about 40 minutes. So we have a good amount of time for Q&A. So through my session, either raise your hand or interrupt me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. So like you mentioned, I will be focusing on the lower three layers, the operating system, security, and the manageability stack in my presentation today. So what have been the guiding principles for what we do in our software, where we invest in? By the way, I'm hearing some beep. Is that by design?
There's a beep when people join the meeting. I'll try and get rid of it, Prashant. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. I'm okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm not hearing something spurious. No problem. Okay, so basically there are three pillars on which our strategy is based upon. One is to provide a stable operating environment. NonStop has been in the business of providing mission critical platform for the IT industry for well over 4 decades. And it's important that we continue to support what we already have so that customers have investment protection. At the same time, we keep it the technology evolution that happens in the platform underneath and so forth. So that is one. The second pillar is keeping lock in step with the modern IT, the newer trends, newer practices, be it as a service, be it cloud-based trends, be it the trends that are happening in the continuous integration, continuous deployment arena. So all that modern IT developers and the IT shops do today, we want to enable that on the NonStop. And the third one is promote innovation. We want newer solutions on the platform. We want NonStop to be used in some of the newer verticals and some of the newer use cases, so that we continue to offer a mission critical availability to all those workloads as we have been providing to the traditional ones until now. So let me begin by summarizing what we have done in our product portfolios in terms of new product introductions. Now, security is top of the minds for the IT houses, the CIOs in particular, and that is quite obvious given the security challenges that the IT is facing today. And that's not going to change much anytime soon. In fact, it's going to continue to be very challenging, and that's where the lot of investment and a lot of focus of the IT budgets goes towards security. And keeping this in view, we have enhanced our security portfolio in a big way. NonStop does offer very strong security credentials by its design. Having said that, many customers want to implement newer security practices, protection of the environment, protection of the data, and so forth. And also, NonStop operates in many regulated environments. So we have to, our customers have to demonstrate compliance, not only comply with those regulations, but also have to demonstrate them. So we have got solutions to help customers achieve that. So this year, out of all the portfolios which have gotten refreshed to showcase, the security portfolio has had an upgrade by a wide margin. We have had totally 16 new products that we have introduced in the portfolio through our partnership with two ISVs, Zyprov and a new partner called Fortec. So out of these 16 products, we've had 14 products from Zyprov and 2 from Fortec, and we plan to add more down the line. So it's, given the amount of time we have, it's going to be difficult to touch upon each one of those. However, I will summarize some of the areas and some of the products, some of the suites that we have offered through the showcase program. Now, security monitoring is becoming more and more challenging. It's becoming the low and the slow that you need to go after. So doing that through manual processes of looking at the logs, analyzing the logs, and looking at who did what is very challenging. So it's no longer the game of a manual monitoring. It does require a lot of sophistication. Ragged Security One is a suite which helps you achieve exactly that. It has artificial intelligence built in, and it is up for the challenges of the modern IT. So we offer that. We launched this product earlier this year. It's got multiple modules. You can go for the entire suite, or you can go for a particular vertical solution that you desire to use in your environment. The other aspect of monitoring is file integrity monitoring. This is not only very important from protecting your environment against unauthorized changes to the objects, unauthorized changes to your jobs and the settings and so forth. It's also an important PCI requirement. And I'm sure it's other than PCI, other regulations also recommend file integrity monitoring. So we have 2 products that will help you achieve that. One is a product that comes as a module inside of XS1 itself called the file integrity monitoring module. And the other one is a standalone product called the Integrity Detective. The XS1 FAME is a product from a license from Zyprov, and the Integrity Detective is from Fortec. Now, enterprises have started the trend of centralizing user provisioning so that they eliminate all the air gaps that happen through the workflow that gets created when you provision or deprovision a user. There's also a heightened importance on managing the sensitive accounts like your super, and so forth. So identity and access management is a very focused area for many enterprises, and there are many solutions that have out in the space. The CyberArk and SailPoint are by far the leaders in this space. SailPoint in the user provisioning, centralized user provisioning space, and CyberArk in the password vaulting, privileged access management space. Now, if you want to integrate NonStop in such an environment, a lot of our customers have them already. They use CyberArk and SailPoint. If you want to integrate NonStop natively into those, we have certified connectors for those 2 platforms as part of our Zygate Identity Connector product suite. The last but not the least is the sensitive data detection. It's very important that you identify where in your environment the sensitive data is stored. You no longer rely on the knowledge of the architects and what you understand of the various applications. So the integrity, the PAN Finder is a product that helps you identify where in your environment you have stored sensitive data. With that, you can then go after how to protect them, how to eliminate them, and you can also use it to showcase to your auditors that you are in compliance. In the manageability area too, we have introduced a number of products. We have introduced a product on workload management called NonStop Nova. If you look at it, this is more like a much advanced NetPatch or NetPatch Plus kind of area. So this is it helps you manage the workload across several nodes and monitor them through one single dashboard and so forth. The other product is called the CT, which helps you do a deep dive analysis of your transactions. And the last one is the SNMP-v3 agent. Now, SNMP-v3 agent was a part of the OVNM product, but we have had several customers asking us to offer that as a standalone product because it helps you securely manage your NonStop system using industry standard manageability solutions like the Network Node Manager or IBM Dually. So with SNMP-v3 agent, you will be able to do that. So that's a little summary of the new products that we have introduced. Now let's look at the software updates in the various products that we are already offering, that we have already been offering. So I will begin with virtualized NonStop. Virtualized NonStop is now more than 3 years old. We have many customers running it in development, production, and so forth. And one of the feedback we have got, and also based upon our observation and our experience, is that it takes quite a bit of effort to actually prepare your environment to make it ready to deploy a NonStop system. When I say environment, I mean the private cloud. And not only that, it also needs to work coherently with your standard IT practices in your private cloud, be it in terms of patching your VMware environment or making any hardware upgrades and so forth. So in order to help customers achieve the level of coherence between their NonStop between the NonStop environment and rest of the private cloud, we have made a number of enhancements in the deployment in the deployment phase of the NonStop system. One is a new product that we introduced called the VNS Readiness Analyzer. What it does is it helps you run a report, and using that report, you will know whether your environment is ready to deploy the system or not, and if not, what are the gaps. So that gives you a very precise set of steps, set of requirements that you need to meet in order to, in fact, even start beginning system deployment. The second one is making it easy to deploy the NonStop system. Traditionally, if you create your own JSON and give it as a part of the VRO workflow, you have to write a JSON file, which is like 700 plus lines to create a 4 CPU NonStop system. We have now significantly simplified that. You can actually now create a NonStop system of a similar size with less than 50 lines. So it's an order of magnitude improvement in your ability to create and deploy a NonStop system. And the third one is how do we make it easy for you to upgrade your underlying platform, be it VMware, be it hardware, while your NonStop system continues to run. And so we have now put in some workflows so that you can through a rolling mechanism, you can upgrade your underlying environment without bringing down or without having to cold load your NonStop system. So with that, we believe there is a significant change or a significant improvement in the deployment experience of the system. And then, of course, once the system is up and running, it's pretty much NonStop. You don't see a difference at all. One of the questions that get asked is, what's your current deployment like? Now, this is a picture that I'm sure we've got more customers than what this picture depicts here. The orange dots indicate where the virtual NonStop customers are. We've got customers all across the globe. We've got virtual NonStop systems in 5 continents today. We'll probably, hopefully have a virtual NonStop system in Africa, and one day we'll get into Antarctica as well. So that'll cover all 7 continents. We've got several customers who have already into production, and we have more who are lining up their production plans. They're undergoing all the testing and so forth. So we'll have many more customers with their virtual NonStop system serving their production requirements. And another bit of statistics, about 3/4 of the hardware are on HPE servers, and 1/4 of them are on non-HPE servers and storage, and virtual NonStop is doing just fine. Coming to the security area, working from home has become a norm, and it is no longer an exception. So how much ever sensitive the task be, you will have to enable it to be done remotely. So if you look at the security literature, what it says is that one of the common ways of attack vectors is the identity thefts. So, and a very effective way of neutralizing that particular attack vector is by implementing multi-factor authentication. Again, a reminder that MFA is not an option for PCI compliant industries, because it's a PCI requirement. And the Zygate user authentication that helps you achieve multi-factor authentication is a part of the NonStop system itself. It's there in your system for you to use. So that's with that reminder. I would also like to highlight that we have introduced a product which is actually a plugin to XUA, which helps you implement MFA in your existing application, be it Base24 Classic or be it any application that you have developed in-house. It may be a Screen Copal based application, it may be a command line based application. You may not even have the source code, or you may not want to actually make any modification to implement MFA. If that's the situation you are in, you might want to consider using this plugin, and that helps you implement MFA in your existing application out of the box. Other than that, we have implemented, there are new enhancements in XUA that helps you have a non-guardian based client, a client authentication. For example, if you have an application that's got a number of users, thousands or even millions of users, but you don't want to have guardian accounts for each one of them, and you want to authenticate them against external directory service, you can do that using XUA today. And if you want to use a cloud-based RSA authentication for your second factor, you can do that on your NonStop system using XUA. We have been shipping the SSL proxy with NonStop system for a while now. What it helps you to do is, if you have an application that communicates in plain text, that data will be tunneled through the SSL tunnel so that the data gets protected while it's in the network or on the internet. But the limitation there is that you will not get to see the IP address of the remote client or the remote host that you're talking to. So if you want to enhance your application to natively implement SSL, we now ship OpenSSL library as a part of the operating system itself. So it's available for OSS, and you can then use this library to integrate that with your application and have an end-to-end SSL session. In SSH, there are enhancements to support the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm and Edwards curve digital signature algorithm. They are more efficient digital signature algorithm out in the industry. It's available in NonStop SSH. We have enhanced the NonStop HTTPS, which is the newer web server on the NonStop system, with the ability to create certificate signing requests. And we have also refreshed the crypto suite on those products. In the ITP web server, we have implemented hardware acceleration for AES calls, and we plan to do a similar enhancement in the NonStop HTTPS as well. NonStop System Console, a few months ago, we released the new set of consoles running on Windows 2019. They also have got additional availability enhancements. They've got dual OS disks, so that if one fails, it continues to run on the second OS disk. And you can also have, you can also do a FRU level hardware replacement, so that in case a fan fails or a power supply fails, you don't have to get a new console. You can simply replace that part and continue to use it. OSM is enhanced as a part of the Fabric robustness program. You can now get an early warning about any potential issues with your InfiniBand links. If there are any errors that are being observed, that can alert you about a possible outage scenario of your Fabric link in question. In the manageability products, there have been a number of enhancements in Web Viewpoint, Remote Analyst, and OVNPM. They're primarily in the nature of providing, presenting the GUI enhancements, providing a much more canned set of data for your analysis, improving the performance of pulling the historical data in the remote, excuse me, in the Remote Analyst, and UI enhancement features in the OVNPM product. Okay, that comes to the, that wraps up the recent set of enhancements that we have made. So I will now pause a little bit and welcome any questions that you may have. I don't see questions in the chat window either. Okay. There are no questions, or am I still in the room? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you are,
you're
Prashant.
audible. You're audible. There are no questions in the chat window.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's come to the futures. So what's coming in the future? Let me begin with virtual nonstop. We are continuing the journey to make it easy to deploy the nonstop system, to define the various parameters to create a nonstop system. And in the soon to be released version, what you will see is the ability to define a system using templates. You will have 3 templates, small, medium, and large. While that may not exactly be the system configuration that you want, you can use it as a start and make whatever modification you need to get the final system configuration of your choice before deploying it. Overall, it should make the system deployment a bit more easy. We will be supporting the Ice Lake-based system deployment on Ice Lake-based processors. And VMware vSAN is a very popular storage choice in the private clouds, and we have not been officially supporting that because we wanted to fully qualify virtual nonstop with that. We are wrapping it up, and we should soon be able to let virtual nonstop be deployed in private clouds using hyperconverged systems using vSAN technology. The next enhancement I want to talk about is kernel level threading. NonStop is a scale out architecture right from day one. So if you want to increase the ability to manage your workload, you have been creating multiple instances of processes. And even though from the Itanium system onwards, we have been supporting multi-core processors, the ability to scale up your workload ideally still required you to use multi-process approach and TSMP doing the scale out. Now, we have had threading in OSS for a while. We've had threading in Guardian as well, the G threads. However, the threading model on OSS today is based upon the user thread, which means the kernel doesn't know the existence of multiple threads. It actually uses it as one schedulable entity, but the scheduler runs in the user space, and then that does a scheduling in a non-preemptive manner. Well, it works in many instances. In some instances, it does create design challenges. And the other area where it creates challenges is the ability to port. Typically, if you have a Linux application, the SMP world is scale up predominantly, and they use threads very commonly. And if you are porting any of them to the nonstop, many a times you end up redesigning or rewriting the software so that you can natively scale out using the multiprocess approach. So given these challenges, we have now embarked upon a journey to support kernel level threading, a true threading model inside of the nonstop kernel itself. What it allows you to do is, if you have a process that is multi-threaded, and that thread becomes an independently schedulable entity because kernel recognizes it, and which you will then be able to scale up your system. If you, let's say, for example, you are running the application on a 6-core nonstop CPU, and you have one single large process that is multi-threaded, you can have those threads run parallelly on all the 6 cores so that you can scale up your the ability of the process to handle the workload. Now, this will be supported in the OSS space, and it will be supported for both 32 and 64-bit processes. It will be POSIX compliant, which means all the POSIX APIs with regard to all the POSIX API that are expected to be thread aware or thread safe, they will be complied with in nonstop OSS. Now, benefits are basically 2. One is the ability to scale up your process so that it can leverage the multiple core that are running underneath the operating system. So here is an example with the POSIX user thread, which is the current model. Even if you have a multi-threaded process, it will consume only 1 core at a time. And which means the amount of workload that process can actually handle is limited by the processing power of 1 single core. With kernel level threading, you will now have at the disposal of the process all the cores that are available for your operating system, which means the workload can be distributed across the several cores available, and which means the ability to handle the workload will increase many-fold. That is one. And the second one, of course, is the ability to port the applications from other platforms very easily, particularly Linux. So those are the two key advantages that we believe you will achieve when we have this program released. These you can see here the scope of changes that are being implemented to support this capability. And just to surmise it, I would say this is probably the largest enhancement in the operating system that we are undertaking after the Cognac program, where we ported the NonStop operating system to support x86. So there is an extensive amount of changes that are happening. And in terms of availability, we are, at the moment, it appears like the release will be sometime after 2022. So it's going to be a while before you can actually get to see it, but it's very exciting and interesting. So what will it mean for your applications and tools? If you are using SPT and PUT, I'm including SPT here for the sake of completeness, knowing fully well that standard POSIX thread is unlimited for a while now. And we have been encouraging ISVs and customers to move away from SPT and use PUT. And those libraries will nevertheless continue to be available. If your process is unthreaded, that's fine. We do not expect them to observe any regression, be it the unthreaded processes or processes using the PUT or SPT. However, an application will be able to use only one threading model at a time. In other words, you cannot have an application that uses PUT for one part of it and KLT for the other part of it. It should either be PUT alone or KLT alone, but not both. We plan to migrate to KLT in a Java virtual machine because that is one solution, that is one software which we believe will be able to benefit from the KLT architecture in some of the areas such as the parallel garbage collection and the application threads. One of the reasons why, so the question obviously is, why would you want to change your implementation based upon SPT or PUT? SPT is very clear, it's limited, so the sooner you move out of that, the better it is, because you then be able to get any of your defects escalated to HPE and get an attention from us to get it fixed. The investment going forward will be primarily in KLT once we release it, obviously, because that's going to be the focus area, and that's going to give you more bang for the buck, if you will. And we believe it's going to lift many of the constraints that exist today on the multi-threaded processes, multi-threaded applications, a NonStop system. Having said that, you might want to consider migrating to KLT on a process-by-process basis. You might want to look at processes which you believe are getting constrained because of the POT model and prioritize them and move them to KLT first, and then the others. So one of the advantages, of course, of KLT is that if you have a code base which runs on both NonStop as well as Linux, and you have a lot of changes between the Linux version and the NonStop version, KLT should make it a lot easier for you, because the amount of delta between your Linux code stream and the NonStop code stream is expected to be quite minimal or quite reduced compared to what it is today with the PUT-based architecture. Do I have a question?
Yeah, Prashant, are you able to hear me? Randall Becker asked whether it's possible to know the processor that's underlying the virtual NonStop, and knowing the processor, he may be able to do some licensing changes.
Yes, it is. In fact, if you see the process get info list, you do see a different model number for different family of processors. You probably, I think you will not know whether it is, let us say, a Xeon 2355 or a Xeon, I'm just taking an example. I don't know whether 2355 is a model number or not. And let's say 6446, or whether it's a Xeon, 4482. You will not be able to get that level of information, but you will know that it's a Xeon Cascade Lake processor, or you will know it's a Skylake processor. The details are in the processor get fully stable, that famous table that a lot of our developers refer to know which processor is running underneath.
Okay, thanks. And the next question from again Vandal Baker is, when will they be able to try KLT? I think you indirectly answered it, saying not in 2022, later than that.
Yeah, and I see there is one word for Golang as well. So yeah, I think language discussion. I'll let Sridhar. I'll not steal your thunder. I'll let Sridhar answer that in his session the after tomorrow. So another answer I want to give about KLT is that if you are ready for doing some beta or a POC or something, do reach out to me. Now, this is not to say that we will be able to do it, but depending on the bandwidth available with our developers and depending on the beta programs that are already committed to, we will try and see if we can accommodate the request. But yeah, if you do have any such interest, do let me know. Okay. All right. The next set of enhancements we'll be doing is in GreenLake. Now, our leadership, our HPE leadership announced back in, I think, 2019 or 2020 that by 2022, all HPE products will be available in an as-a-service model under the GreenLake program. Now, NonStop, you can get, you can purchase NonStop in an as-a-service GreenLake program today. However, it is a 100% commit model in terms of resources. So you don't have the ability to monitor your usage and pay according to what you have actually used. Now, we plan to lift that limitation through the GreenLake Wave 2 program, wherein you will be able to monitor the usage of the NonStop system and pay for what you have used in arrears. Currently, we have it running under beta with one of our customers, and we plan to make it generally available beginning early next year. A little bit about how this is going to work. The GreenLake, the system which are purchased in the GreenLake, they will have a different kind of license file, and that will enable measuring of the system utilization through a measurement tool. And it's an agentless solution. And that measurement tool will create records in terms of how many cores are being utilized on a particular day, and it creates that record. Inside of your data center, if you have inside of your data center, you have a Windows client that will pull this data on a regular basis, pull the usage data on a regular basis through Windows PowerShell scripts, and then securely email it to HPE portal, which generates the billing information. And that billing information will be pulled through the HPE GreenLake dashboard, which is, I think if you are a GreenLake customer already, you may be familiar with the dashboard I'm referring to. It's a very nice, user-friendly dashboard that helps you monitor how much you have consumed, how much you have utilized, and it helps you self-service portal. You can generate your invoice and so forth. Your NonStop system billing information also will be a part of the GreenLake dashboard. And that's what it's going to provide once we have this available in the NonStop portfolio. Diving deep a little bit, let's take an example of how this is going to work. Let's say you have a 4 CPU system. Now, the Wave 2 is going to be provided on the high-end NonStop systems. So let's take an example of the 4 CPU NS8. It's got 4 cores as a base configuration, and the dark boxes you see here are the cores which are not activated, and the light yellowish or golden colored boxes here are the active cores. So what this means is that you get to activate the inactive cores when you need. And here's an example on day 3, you actually have activated these cores. The monitoring tool, the measurement tool actually records it and say on day 3, 6 cores have been used, and that log gets created in your system. And here is your monthly log as an example. Let's say 4 days in a month, you have used 6 cores, and remaining 24 days remaining 26 days in a month, you have used 4 cores. So then this report will be used to compute the average core utilization per day. In this particular example, it works out to be a 6.26 cores, 4.26 cores, I'm sorry. And that will be rounded off to the nearest integer. So in this example, you'll be paying for four core usage for this month, and you'll be billed in arrears. And invoice will get generated, and that is what will be payable. And here is this example of the GreenLake dashboard. It's got access you can at multiple levels as a user, as an administrator, as a BU, or at a CIO level. You can create various reports or the dashboards. You can monitor the usage. And like I mentioned, it's a self-service. So NonStop data also will be a part of the GreenLake dashboard and be available to you for monitoring and generating the invoices and so forth. So that's about GreenLake. I see no questions. Okay. Moving on to manageability. In the manageability space, we will be having both new product launches and enhancements to the existing products. We plan to launch 2 new products. One product is called the MQ Gate, which helps you provide a much more user-friendly, actionable report based on the MQ events. And another product called NonStop Sentinel, which is another tool available, which is another manageability solution for the NonStop platform. In the for the NSE, we plan to support Windows 2022. Windows 2022 was released a few months ago, and we plan to upgrade the NonStop OS to Windows 2022. In Web Viewpoint Enterprise, there are a number of enhancements that are aimed towards improving the usability of the system and support for multi-factor authentication. In OBNM, there is plan to make OBNM event console run as a part of the OBNM itself rather than being its own standalone application. And on top of that, there's a plan to make the user interface web browser based so that you can access that over the clients. There are plans to enhance local analyst and remote analyst for improving the usability, creating data visualizations, and so forth. More enhancements in NonStop System Console. There are enhancement planned for the OSM service connection, so that one of the enhancements is to be able to alert you when there are failing transceivers in the fiber channel HPAs. When you do OSM data sanitization on the SSDs, the NIF standard requires you to actually go and validate whether the action that you're taking to clear the data has actually been removed or not. Now that check is now implemented, so you can comply with the NIST 800-88 requirement, and you will also have the ability to easily enter the user credentials for multiple claims and simultaneously to enable them to access the ESKM. This is for those customers who use ESKM and volume level encryption solution. Now, for data protection, data is, of course, one of the most important treasure troves on the NonStop systems. NonStop systems are system of record at many of our customer sites, and a lot of the data is sensitive in nature. We have been offering a full disk encryption product for a while, and the technology has evolved, and there are different solutions of different ways of protecting the data. That protecting the sensitive data that resides in your in the storage volumes. 2 of the common ones are tokenization and database encryption, and we have been looking at it for a while now, and we do see we do have plans to offer these solutions as a part of our roadmap. Safeguard is another area where we have been working diligently. There are a number of RFPs from our customers, both from the point of view of helping them achieve PCI compliance and improving the usability of Safeguard. Now, a lot of these RFPs are coming in the soon to be launched RVU, And one of the enhancements I want to highlight is the ability to know when a password was last changed for a particular user. Now, there is a way to actually determine that even today, but we have been getting requests to make it a direct way to get the information, because that's now being a common request from the PCI auditors, and that feature will soon be launched as a part of the new safeguard release. As you can imagine, as we have seen, a lot of products are implementing multi-factor authentication, because that is a very powerful mechanism to protect against credential threats, credential thefts. In the NSC tools, there are a lot of tools which require user credentials, and quite a few of them will soon be supporting multi-factor authentication. I know many of you may be using the jump stations and implementing MFA on the jump station, which are typically Windows boxes, and remote desktoping to the NSEs. At some of our customers, that is not a recommended or an acceptable practice. They want NSEs to natively support MFA. And in view of that, we have been enhancing all these products to support MFA. I think barring two products which are used even before the NSK comes up, with this set of enhancements being delivered, I think all the NSE tools should be MFA enabled by with these enhancements. We will also be supporting multi-factor authentication in NonStop HPE as well. Okay, so we have quite a number of Zygate products in our portfolio, and here is a quick snapshot on all the enhancements that are lined up in these Zygate products. I will not be able to go through each one of them, but I'll touch upon some of the key enhancements. Now, XMA has been exporting the data as syslogs, as SMTP, and as SLMP alerts and so forth. Now, there is a new class of consumers who want to access these information through APIs, through REST APIs. In order to facilitate that, there is a plan to support REST API-based access in Zygate Merged Audit. And XMA will also be implementing a mechanism to pull the data, the event data from NonStop SSH and NetPatch. In the user authentication space, customers use different types of directories or MFA solutions. They could be Centrify, Duo, Ping, One Identity. There are a variety of those, and we have been getting requests to support them, and so have Zypro been getting requests as well. And there's a plan to enhance XMA to support OAuth 2 and SAML, which a lot of these solutions depend on to implement their authentication mechanisms. In Zygate Security 1, PCI DSS 4.0, I have a slide on that. That's coming next year, hopefully first quarter of next year, going by what the portal says. Now, there's a plan to support PCI DSS 4.0 in XS1, and HPE hardening guide is another useful resource that many customers depend on. And there's plan to implement a lot of recommendations coming from the HPE hardening guide in XS1. And there is a plan to offer XS1 as a service, so that it can be consumed in an as a service model, just like a cloud-based service. The analytics of XS1 is planned to enhance the existing set of analytics and implement and further enhancements to the Windows Console Monitor as a part of the appliance Sentry. In Zygate Identity Connector, there is planned to make it easy to implement CyberArk SailPoint-based authentications for your Base24 and other NonStop applications. Is planned to support the cloud-based SailPoint solution. So database SQLMX next release is expected to be out in the near future, and the SQL Express product is going to be enhanced to support the new release of SQLMX, and also some of the SQLMX capabilities such as the native blobs and runtime stats and so forth. So, like I mentioned, PCI 4.0 is in the horizon. It is expected to be released in the first quarter of next year, and the indications are that they give the usual 18 to 24 months to comply. The going by the indications, we see that there is a possibility of they being a little flexible in terms of the mechanism used to implement a particular requirement. Unlike in the past where they have been very prescriptive in terms of what to implement. Hopefully that's good news for NonStop because a lot of the recommendations are based upon the experiences in the Linux and the Windows world, which may not directly be applicable to the NonStop world. We'll see. And if there are any actions to be taken on our security portfolio, we will take a closer look at that. So just a quick reminder that all these enhancements that we have delivered are available online as manuals. And we have refreshed, our partner Continuous has refreshed NonStop education with a lot more programs. So we encourage you to look at that and make use of it. So let me see if I have any other questions. Okay, the NSE tools and MFA. What will be the options, Microsoft Authenticator or others? So you will be using MFA using any product that XUA supports today. I think XUA supports the Microsoft Directory, it supports RSA, Radius, all those MFA solutions you can use with your NSE tools. There's another question. Could you please describe NSMQ gate a bit more? It's a question from Anne Mary. So Anne Mary, I will have to come back to you on this. If you could drop me a line on, if you drop me an email on what exactly you're looking for. At a high level, it's a product that helps you get a more informative data on the MQ events, the IBM MQ events. I mean, today the way MQ events are showing up, they're basically a bunch of lines, event lines, and it's difficult to actually see which is the one that you need to pay attention to. And the MQ gate makes it a lot easier. So yeah, so if you could drop me an email, I will be happy to send you the data sheet or any other information that we have on this product. So with that, I come to the end of the session. I think I have 2 more minutes for any last 1 or 2 questions, maybe. Okay, I take it as a no. Thank you all for your time and have a great day and an eventful and informative rest of the event. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Prashant. Can you stop sharing, John? I mean, recording, not sharing.
Do you want to stick the agenda back up again, John, just so people can see what choice they have next?
We're still recording as well, Colin. We might want to pause.
Oh, I can't do that, I'm afraid. That's John will have to do that, and it's probably not there.